guys all right? Yeah. All right, well, this is a larger group because this is a combination of the two groups. It's the group that's been serving this year, and it's the group that will serve next year. And we're excited for this. This is something we do every year. We just to give you an idea of what BZ Principles is, we do this the first Friday. Well, it is the first Friday, isn't it? Yeah. Usually the first Friday of every month. We get together at 7 a.m. and we go through a leadership topic, and we just present it kind of in a TED Talk style, and then just give you information. We have a site where all this stuff is there, but the reason why we do it is just because we want to give you leadership topics that are timely and timeless, but we don't just want to talk about leadership. We want to talk about leadership through a biblical lens, and the idea that there's a lot of secular views of leadership that have a lot of common grace in them, because everything that works has come from the Lord. And I believe that. So the book that we have gone through this year has been the Working Genius by Patrick Lencioni. It's a new assessment. Well, I say a new assessment because when you think of assessments, you think of Myers-Briggs, which has been around since forever. But this is a new assessment, probably about 10 years old. And the idea of the Working Genius assessment is the idea of where do you find joy and fulfillment and energy in your work. And I couldn't think of, when I read the book the first time, I couldn't think of a better way of how I can serve God better is to understand how God made me and how God made you and how God made work, and where there is joy and fulfillment sometimes in jobs and energy in jobs. And I know where I get my energy in my job. But there's also times in the tendency to feel overwhelmed and feel like, why do I not like this job? I'm working at Cedarville. Why do I not like this? And a lot of it's because that's a frustration for you. So just having that common language. So we've been going through this. Next year, we're going to be going through the book, The Leadership Challenge, which is a book that's been around for probably 50-some years, some research in leadership, and we're going to look at that through a biblical lens. So today, we're going to wrap up the Working Genius, and some of the big ideas that I have for today are this. The best leader is a self-aware leader. All right, just understanding that God needs you, and you need to understand yourself and who God made you to be. There's a quote out there by Theodore Roosevelt that said, "Comparison is a thief of joy." And I think a lot of times we look at other people and go, why can't I be like them? Why can't I be like this person? Why don't I find real joy in my job? And this person is always whistling like they're going to work. I don't know why I can't find that. And a lot of it is this: God wired you different. And God gave you different abilities and different skills. And some of what we also need to understand is because God wired us differently, celebrating that God wired me differently than he wired you. In me celebrating that he's wired you in a different way and allowing you and giving you opportunities to do different things. So this is what Patrick Lencioni said. I like to go a little bit deeper and to say that an effective leader is aware of others in the current situation. So yeah, I need to know who God created me to be. I need to be thankful for that. I need to be looking at ways to give glory back to my Savior because of that. But I also need to be actively looking at and trying to understand the people around me. Because if I don't understand the people around me, somebody will say something. I even did this morning and had to apologize for it. Somebody will say something, and my first reaction is, well, I would have thought this, and not trying to take the time to seek to understand that person. So an effective leader is aware of others in the current situation. So we do all of this because we have a cultural statement saying that we're going to provide extraordinary effort and we're going to strive for excellence. You notice nowhere in there does it say that we are going to be perfect, because you can't. Perfection's a myth. The only person that's ever been perfect that lived this world is our Savior. And the idea of it is that you're just not going to be perfect. You're never going to. You notice in here, there's nothing about results. It's about the effort, and it's about striving for excellence. Because the results, there are other situations that could play into that. You might be the best barista in the world, but if the machine starts to blow up, you're not going to have a good cup of coffee. You might be the best event planner in the world, but if you've got this event planned for outside, and then we have the weather that we had last night, Just because the event is well planned, it doesn't mean that the event is going to go well because of other situations. We're in charge of our effort, and we're in charge of striving for excellence. So that's what we do. And the way we're going to look at summarizing the working genius is this idea of looking at awareness. You know, this is higher learning here. You're all in college. This is awareness. This is the basic knowledge, understanding what's going on. Then you go to buy-in. That's the idea of like, hey, I'm going to give this the good college try. And then we're going to go into ownership, which is like, okay, I'm going to make this mine. So let's break down the working genius from the awareness first. It's a model. It's a leadership model. It's a personality model. Can I challenge you on this? Just because I'm invention doesn't mean I can show up to somebody and go, Rachel, you got to deal with me because I'm an inventor. That's not how personalities, that's not how assessments need to be done. I've seen that done this way, the DISC profile. Well, I'm a high D, you just got to accept that. Or the Myers-Briggs. I'm an extrovert, you just got to accept that. Or I'm an introvert, don't make me talk. You cannot demand that others accept you who you are. You have to look for ways to see where you fit into the team. I think a lot of times where teams fail is like, I'm not being treated the way I think I should be treated, instead of looking at the team going, what is needed for the current situation? So the working genius is just a model. It is just a common language. So the idea of when you look at work, and I'm summarizing because some of you haven't heard this, and you're going to go through it because we're going to have you take the assessment. But when you look at work, there are 3 phases of work. There's ideation, you know, like let's dream a little bit. I love that phase. That's awesome. There's implementation. There's a phase in the middle that gets missed a lot. It's called activation. That's the idea of reverse engineering. How do we make things work? How do we get the right people in the right places? So you've got ideation, you've got activation, and you got implementation. That's work. And when you look at the working genius, think of it like flying an airplane. I don't fly an airplane, but think of it like flying an airplane. At 30,000 feet, you got the Wanderer. You got my friend Jesse. You got my friend who loves to sit and be able to ask, and he's okay to ask questions. Are we doing the right thing? Is this where we're going? And that's 30,000 feet. The tray table's out. You've got the ginger ale on the table. You've got the little cookies from Delta. I mean, you're just living life, and you're dreaming, all right? And it's okay. And then you've got the invention phase. That's a little lower. You're starting to look at things and going like, how do we dream? And Ben dropped something in the back, didn't you? That's cool. But how do you dream? How do you make things happen? How do you make something out of nothing? How do you just keep changing things? I like this. I like to be in the invention phase because I like to change things every single time. My wife would tell you that I would change the furniture in the house every single day if she would let me, because I'm always looking at like, well, could we do it this way? Even though yesterday it worked perfectly where it is. So you got invention at 25,000, and you got these galvanizers who are my friend Weston and my wife, who basically take my dreams and peck them to death like a duck, because they can honestly see what will work and what won't work. Like, so for me as a dreamer, I'm like, let's dream about this, and Weston's like, that's the dumbest idea I've ever heard in my life. But the idea is the galvanizers are there, and they're helping. Now you're getting into the activation phase, and you're getting like, yeah, that's just not going to work, or what if we did it this way? Then you got that's the discerners. Then you got the galvanizers. This is Weston and myself. We like to rally a team. These are the people that are like, let's get the spirit going, and let's get the bus going on the road. Let's move. Let's get things going. Let's get some excitement. And that's just a lot of fun, and that's at about 15,000. 10,000 feet, you're getting ready to land the plane. You're on final approach. They're telling you put your ginger ale away, eat your cookie real fast, put your tray table back up. And then these are people called enablement. They're like, hey, give me a task. I'm going to just work really, really hard and get this done because I just like to work to get things done. Then there's this other group that love to-do list. How many of you in the room love to-do list? I hate to-do list. I feel handicapped. I feel like constricted. I feel like somebody's sitting on top of me. But the idea is there's some people in this room that just like, man, if I can't check off a to-do box today, I have failed. So that's the 5,000-foot level. So that's the working genius. That's how it goes. All work goes from somebody at one point said, I wonder if this is the right thing, down to how do I get this done? So the question is, where are we in work right now? Where are we in the situation? So JS is tomorrow, Amelia. You know that, right? You remember that? Okay, I woke up today and remembered that and got a little panicked. But the idea of right now is JS is tomorrow. Are we ideating about some ideas for JS for tomorrow? No. Are we galvanizing and like trying to get people really? No, because tickets are already sold. Are we trying to decide if we did the right thing? Well, I hope we did the right thing because we've already paid the check. So the idea of it is where we are right now in the stage of work is we're in implementation. It's tenacity. It's like we got to go tomorrow morning, 7 a.m., set everything up, get everybody there, tear everything down, bring it back. That all happens in one day. That's where we are right now for that event. But if you think of getting started 140 days away, we could still be in ideation a little bit. We're dreaming a little bit. We got some time, but we're going to have to work through that. So all work goes through that, whether you're an engineer, whether you're a nurse, whether you're in education, whether you're in business, all work goes through ideation, activation, implementation. All work goes through wonder, invention, galvanizing, discernment, galvanizing, enablement, and tenacity. So it's a common language. We use it as a common language. So this morning when I was ranting, I was realizing that my tendency is always to go to where your working genius is. So if I'm a galvanizer, and I feel like people aren't following and getting on board with the team, that's something, and you'll see in a little bit, that will crush me. And so, like, instead of just going, oh, okay, let's figure out why this is being said, I'm just feeling like, would you stop punching me in the face? And it's the idea is we all have that tendency, and being aware of that. That will help you. That will help you understand that the job that you are being offered, is it the right job for you? So my first job at Cedarville was doing grant foundation request. Meaning I sat in an office without a window. 90% of my job was behind the computer. Yeah, that lasted 2 years because I realized I just felt drained. I didn't feel like the energy was there, but I wanted to be back at Cedarville so bad. I took a job that wasn't like, if I was looking at this model, that fit where I am right now. When I make decisions sometimes too much to the dream phase instead of going like, okay, what is this going to do to my friend Rachel, who loves to have things getting done at Renova, and I'm dreaming about changing things? Like, would he just shut up and get some stuff done? So that's the idea of awareness. So when you look at buy-in, so awareness, you're understanding it. Buy-in, what you're looking at now, how do I be an effective leader and understand other people? So how do I wrestle with this? How do I make sure, and it doesn't mean that you're perfect, but how do I make sure that when I react and not respond, how do I go back and look at the working genius and look at how God wired me and God wired them and be like, man, okay, I can do this 1% better next time. And that's that personal assessment that we need to make. And it's always making sure that when you're looking at the stages of work of ideation, activation, implementation, that's helping you stay on track. Because most of you in this room, if we started doing training for next year, say we all stayed for next year, you don't want to hear the philosophy of the team. You don't want to hear the philosophy of work. You don't want to go through all that. Really, and I don't mean this disrespectful, but really what you want is just shut up and tell me how to do the job. Okay? That's how we are. We don't want to know the who, the why, the what. We want to know the how. But in life, if we're going to enjoy work, we're going to use work as worship, knowing the how doesn't keep you on track when life gets hard. When life gets hard, what keeps you on track for the job is knowing who you're serving, why you're doing the job, what is required. The how then makes a little bit more sense. But we all want to jump to that. Just show me how to make coffee. Show me how to answer phones. Show me how to do stuff for involvement. Show me how to do stuff for events. The problem with that is you're not giving yourself the opportunity to stay on track. And so with buy-in, it's the idea, okay, am I going to slow down enough to at least try to understand this model? Am I going to, and that's only up to you, because then if you do the awareness, which I think you all will do, because you'll have to do because you're going to hear from me, then you do the buy-in, that's what gets you to the ownership. And the idea of ownership is that it requires mutual responsibility and personal accountability. The only way any leadership model works, the only way any culture works, is that everybody in the room realizes that I'm responsible to you and you're responsible to me, but ultimately it's my responsibility to the Lord that I do the right way. So it's everybody's responsibility. So if everybody in this room, there might be 70 people in the room. If 65 of us do it well and 5 don't, we're still not where we need to be because we're all mutually responsible. But Cade, you're only accountable to yourself. You have to hold yourself accountable. I think that's the danger of teams too, is like, well, the team should hold me accountable. No. I'm responsible to the team, but I'm accountable to the Lord on my reactions, on my thoughts, on what I do. And that's a really important thing. So the other thing in ownership is seek to understand. That's a Covey. Covey, we did the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He says seek to understand, but it doesn't stop there. Then to be understood. So your job is to understand the people around you, understand the people you're working with, understand their tendencies in work, but then also to make sure they understand you. Don't be fake. I think a lot of times we try to blend in. No, God created you the way that he wanted you to work. Find joy and fulfillment in this work. I think a lot of times we see people jumping from job to job to job to job because they feel like if I go to a new job, I'll be happy. No, if you go from job to job to job and you're doing the same job, you're going to still be miserable because you're not finding where you find joy and fulfillment in that job. And you're not giving other people the opportunity to help you. So when I look at this, and we're going to go through the Working Genius, and you're going to see some things that we call craves and crushes. It's not Valentine's Day, so don't get any ideas. The first one is the idea of wonder. So this is my friend Jesse. He craves consideration. Are you going to give me the time to at least listen to my wondering? Do you know what crushes him? Who cares about that? What's the big deal? Jesse, who cares about your I'm not saying that right now, so don't be crushed. So, but the idea that's what crushes him. So when you're a wanderer, the reason why sometimes you react to things is when somebody just looks at you and goes, I don't really care. Why are you even asking this question? Stop thinking this. Stop overthinking this. That can crush somebody like that. So understanding that if you're working with a Jesse and he starts to dream, fight back the words, who cares? Or why are we doing this? Then you get to invention. Man, I crave freedom. I think when I saw that, I thought of the movie Braveheart, and I was going to do that this morning, but it's too early. But like the freedom to be able to come up with new ideas, the freedom to do different things. You know what crushes me is constraints. When somebody says, you have to do it this way because we've always done it this way, and this is the way it will always be done, and I'm just like, literally, that's how I do it. So you crave freedom. You're crushed by constraint. Galvanizing. This is Weston and I. We crave trust. We love it when you guys trust us. What crushes us is when somebody goes, well, prove it to me. I don't believe you. I don't think you're right. Prove it to me. And you're just like, really? Do we have to do this again? And that's it's important for me. And I struggled with that this morning. Ben and I struggled with that. I was talking to Ben and Mallory, and I felt crushed. And I was like, fine, if you're going to crush me, watch out, man. Let's get the boxing gloves on. And I wasn't punching Ben, literally, or Mallory. So if anybody thinks that I punched Mallory or not, like I'm more afraid of Mallory. But the idea is like there are real things in there that you're working genius, the way God wired you. There are things that you crave, and there are things that will crush you. Then you get to enablement, which a lot of you in the room are galvanizing. You're crushed by apathy and you crave reaction. So the whole idea of that is like, man, I really don't like when people are apathetic. That bothers me when somebody just doesn't care. I'm like, why don't they care? I've been working so hard to try to get, you notice the I part of that? Been working so hard to get this stuff done, get the culture out there. Man, I crave when people are like, man, I love this job. I'm crushed by people who go like, why does he always talk about Bravo Zulu stuff? I don't get it. So that's part of it. That's galvanizing. Enablement. This is the one where a lot of you are. You crave appreciation. When people, you're the people that are like, man, just appreciate. So if somebody's really good at helping, getting stuff done, a lot of the people on ops are this way. Like, how can we appreciate more? And you're crushed by being overlooked. Do you know that most of the jobs in this room that you do or you will do are under-thanked jobs? Nobody's going to come up to you and go, man, that was the best latte in the world. Unless it's me because I'm the nicest guy in the world. But the idea of that, that's a little conceited. But the idea is nobody's going to thank you about things. Nobody's going to thank you for setting up tables. Nobody's going to thank you for the videos and graphics that you do. Nobody's going to thank you for all the org stuff you do, and on and on and on and on and on. And that can be crushing, and we need to realize that as a team is how are we looking, as Zig Ziglar said, is make finding the good in others a priority. Make finding good in others a priority and saying thank you. And then the last one, the tenacities. This would be Chrissy. This would be April. This would be Leslie. They crave clarity. So like the dreamers, me, I've got to make sure that I go through the activation phase and make it really clear of what I expect, because the tenacity people, the people that get it done, the people that make things happen, they crave that clarity, but they're crushed by ambiguity. They're crushed by like, I have no idea what this guy wants me to do, and all I want to do is check off this to-do list, and why won't he give me what I could do so I could check off my to-do list, right? Yeah, so when we get to the place where there's no clarity, Rachel, am I right? It's like come on, people. So the reason why I give you all of this in the ownership section is because I want to remind you is that the best leader is a self-aware leader, is being aware, okay, what crushes you and what do you crave? Your friends, what crushes them and what do they crave? It doesn't mean you walk around on eggshells and like, well, if I ever tell Jesse to stop thinking about, like, I can't do that, but I got to realize if Jesse's in wonder phase, then maybe I need to ask the question, hey, are you wondering right now? Because I'm not ready for that. Automatically, I'm showing respect, but if automatically it's like, Jesse, just stop, I'm not showing respect to Jesse. So it's the idea is like what crushes, what do we crave? The best leader is a self-aware leader. Don't really agree with that. I do agree with it to an extent. But I believe that an effective leader is aware of others, and it's aware of the current situation. My wife is a discerner, tenacity. I am an invention galvanizer. I could dream, like vacations are fun for me to dream them out, and Danielle's like, we don't got the money for that. Discerner. So what do you want from me? I'm like, I'm still dreaming. Tenacity. But understanding that, so for me as somebody who talks thinks as I'm talking, understanding that when I'm going to talk to Danielle about something, to let her know where I am, and then even ask at times, hey, Danielle, I need you to poke holes in this. I had to have her do that the other day. I was thinking of something for the office, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going down the right track. I feel like I'm pretty emotional right now. So Danielle poked some holes in this, and she's like, you want me to discern, right? And I go, yeah, I want you to discern. I'm sitting down. And then she just discerned. Understanding that in people and it's celebrating that in people is one of the coolest things. And that's where you see jobs and work become fun and not drudgery and stuff like that. And that's what we want it to be. All right. Any questions? That was a summary of the Working Genius. Some of you have never heard of it, and you're like, what the heck is it? Trust me, you'll figure it out. We're good. We're good. Who will be the first question? Kirby, I'm about ready to call on you because you yawned right there. You didn't have enough sleep the other night when the tornado woke you up, right? Yeah, okay, yeah. Any questions, comments, snide remarks? Yes, I am asking for snide remarks. Nobody? None of the current people will say anything? I'm going to call on a couple people in a second, so don't make eye contact. Amelia, what do you think? We've been talking the last, yeah, it's JS week, man. Yeah, I got to pick on you. Yeah, and I think some of it is it's the idea that you're going to communicate. For me, so when I feel like I've been crushed, one of the things I need to remind myself is they probably didn't mean it intentionally. And believing the best, trusting people's intentions, not always their actions. So just reminding myself, okay, don't forget, Brian, that you're naturally crushed by when people do this. This is not what he or she is saying. So number one is reminding myself of my personality, what bothers me, what really frustrates me, so that I don't automatically lash out at somebody and think, well, they're evil because they responded the way that hurt me. No, it just might be the way that they responded. And then going a step further, if it still bugs me, having that conversation with somebody. Yeah. And just reminding them. So there's times we'll be in meetings, the full-time team, and I'm dreaming, like we're at an off-site, and I'm dreaming, and Leslie, Chrissy, at that time, Teresa, was like, well, how do we do this? This doesn't make any sense. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, time out. We're not in that phase of work right now. Let's come back up. Because like when you're flying a plane, you imagine going from 30,000 feet to 5,000 feet. You know what that's called? Scary. And the idea of that is like, and that's turbulence and stuff like that. You don't want that. You want to be at that smooth sailing altitude. And it's the idea that I have to remind people, okay, we're at an ideation phase right now. For JS and for Aleve, we're at an implementation phase. It's like there's no more dreaming about new ideas of what we want to do and new videos and new things. It's like, no, this plane is on approach. And it's going to be on the ground. But the tendency a lot is for people to try to grab the stick and pull the plane back. So reminding people the stage of work that we're in is another helpful thing. Just don't take it personal. I took it personal this morning. So it's Bernstein Bears. You like do as I say, not as I do. Yeah. Yeah. Any other comments? Thank you, Amelia. Pray for Amelia and her team. They got JS this weekend. He'll be fine. She has to work with me. She'll be all right. She might come back scarred, but that's okay. Eli, what do you think? You're planning on getting started. What do you think right now? Yeah, okay, you went, it's not that bad. That's the beauty of the activation phase. And if you look at all work, most activation phases get skipped. We want to come up with the idea. We want to do the idea. We want to ready, fire, and we forget about the aim. So it's the idea of like that where you are right now is dreaming. You got to aim it and go, okay, we're going to do this at getting started. How do we make that happen? What needs to happen to make that happen? Oh, that won't be possible. So you go back to dream. So the activation kind of glues together the ideation, the dream, and the implementation, the do. But I think a lot of people jump from ideation to doing, and they forget to stop and go, okay, here's the thing. How is this going to affect ops? How is this going to affect the administration? How is this going to affect Renova? How is this going to affect me? So the whole idea is like that's the part that gets missed.